Hey everyone, it's the moment you've all been waiting for. I'm sure you've all been, refreshing your Facebook pages and refreshing your YouTube pages, waiting, in desperate agony for me to post my round two game of New Westminster. So here it is. I was playing against a guy called Eric. Um, the time control again was 90 minutes plus 30 seconds whenever you made a move. I was feeling pretty confident going into this game after winning the first round, so I just wanted to, just get the game going and start playing. I wasn't as nervous going as I was going into the first game. And I opened with c4. This is less conventional and less traditional than the two main opening moves you see. But the reason I like playing c4 in the opening is there isn't as much theory attached to it. If I just give you an example line of, like, say, a main theoretical line, like if I play e4, I have to be ready for my opponent to basically know the best moves for, five or six moves, even beyond that sometimes. Like, I could give you a very common theoretical line here, and this is all established theory. You just do this and this, and it's like even inexperienced players know these kind of lines, and it's I don't really see much fun in that. And then my opponents probably do this, or I actually don't really know what the best move is after here. But even knowing those first six moves, I'd have to be ready for those, that opening or and a multitude of other openings. If I'm playing e4 or d4, whereas c4, like, who plays that, right? My opponent played in the center, which is good for him. I played g3 because I want to put my bishop on this diagonal, and he developed his knight to f6. I developed my bishop to g2. He played in the center, pushed his pawn to d5. So generally, when I have a pawn on the flank, which I do here, and I have a chance to capture towards the center, I do. It's maybe not always the best move. It's not a hard and fast rule, but well, it is a hard and fast rule. It doesn't apply in all situations, but here I play c takes d5. He recaptured the knight. I played knight c3. He played c6, which defends his knight. The computer doesn't like that move. Doesn't I suppose it doesn't develop any of his pieces, which is a very important opening principle. He should probably play bishop g4 here, or play bishop e2, preparing to castle, or he should put his knight on c6 instead. Now the c6 pawn blocks his knight from going to c6. I played knight f3, developing my knight and attacking this pawn. He defended the pawn, and I attacked the pawn again with e4. And here he did something really bad, and it's actually bad for two reasons. And I only saw one of them, which is crazy. So he moved his bishop again. In the opening, you want to move your pieces out and move them once, unless absolutely necessary. No, if you move your piece out and a fella attacks it and it's going to get captured, move it again. But in this case, his bishop wasn't attacked, so he should be, developing his other pieces. But he obviously just wanted to pin my knight. Good for him. But I can't believe I didn't see this in the game. I just told you in the last move that I moved my knight to f3, and it attacked his pawn, and he moved his bishop. You know, he moved his bishop out to d6 to defend his pawn. But he moved his bishop again, so now his pawn is just hanging. It's free. And I even have a saying that I like, that I repeat when I play. If it's free, it's for me. And for some reason, that didn't go through my head, so I didn't take his pawn. I just unpinned my knight, bishop to d2. He took the pawn. I think he realized that his pawn was hanging before I did. So he took, and I took back. He retreated he retreated his knight. I don't really know why he did that. Again, he's not developing his pieces, but he retreated his knight to b6. I retreated my knight to f3 because it's hanging. It's attacked by the queen. And he played bishop to f5, finally developing his bishop. And I castled, and he played h6. And at this stage of the game, the computer says I have a big advantage. It's plus 1.32 right now, even though material is equal. If we just count the kind of progress that has been done, if we count my pieces that are out, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces developed. As in, I've moved, 4 pieces out. He has only moved out 1, 2, 3. I've also castled. He hasn't castled. So in a way, I'm kind of up 2 tempo. It's almost like I'm up 2 moves. One of those moves is this move here, h6 that he just played doesn't really make any sense. It stops my knight from going to to g5, but my knight also has e5, which he hasn't stopped, so I can just play to e5 if I want to go forward. And the other tempo he lost was moving his bishop a lot of times, this bishop here. So, yeah, so h6 doesn't do anything. I played queen to b6, this attacks his bishop. So he defended his bishop. I put my rook in the center, lining it up with his queen. And my plan is maybe next turn I move this bishop here, move it somewhere else, and then there's a discovered attack. So he moved his queen out of the way, and I played e4. The computer doesn't love this move, actually, gives it a yellow light. Apparently I have an advantage here by just playing moves like knight to d4. But in this position, like, the most natural looking move to me, and I think to almost any player, is just to play e4. Because you don't want this pawn sitting on the back row, or on its first row for the entire game. You want to move it out. And now seems like a very opportune moment, because his queen is lined up with his king here. And also when I play e4, I attack his bishop. So it comes with tempo, and it starts opening up this file, where his queen and his king are lined up. So in a dream scenario, I can see where my rook goes to e1 and then attacks his queen or his king or both. So he moved his bishop, and I've lined my rook up onto put my rook on e1. He castles to get out of the pin, and I played e5, and the computer doesn't love this move either. Actually, just go back to this position for a sec. I forgot to mention this, just in case anybody's wondering why you can't just capture this pawn. So it's if I take off this arrow 2 seconds, it's attacked twice, right? It's only defended once. Well, the reason you can't do that is, say if you capture with the bishop, and I capture back, and you capture, well then rook to e1 wins instantly, because his rook is lined up with his king and his queen. So the best he can do, well, that's not the best he can do. The best he can do is probably capture my bishop with check, or capture my rook with check, and then I capture back and he's down a queen. And if he tries to do anything else, back here, yeah, if he tries to move his queen, the computer won't let him. It requires a lot of cheating, so the computer doesn't let you cheat. So yeah, that wouldn't be good for him. So yeah, he moves his bishop and castles. I played e5, which isn't good. Gives away a lot of my advantage. The computer wants me to play in this position, just put my bishop on f4, which is a really good square for the bishop because it stops his king from accessing the b8 square. Basically stops his king from escaping, and it keeps his king central. And when I have a queen, a dangerous queen right here, and I've got 2 rooks in the center of the board, and I've got this bishop cutting up here, and I've got knights ready to come in and do stuff and attack and whatever. Yeah, when his king is in the middle of the board, that's not good for him. But instead, I kind of I prevented ever playing bishop f4. Well, I didn't prevent playing bishop f4, but now it's not as good because it blocks the diagonal. But I played e5 because I want to keep pushing that pawn and try to open up the e file. He played c5, defending his bishop. I moved my queen here. I played queen to c2 because I'm anticipating a tactic he might play. So just say if for example I played h6, what I was thinking is at some point he would play bishop to e6. So I have to move my queen, and then he would capture my knight here. And I've got 2 options. Either I capture with the bishop, and then he has, he can take this pawn, which actually apparently is really good for me, but I didn't see this at the time. It's easy with a computer engine after the game to see that these lines are good or bad or whatever. But I was afraid of that. He would just win a pawn. Yeah, I think the computer wants me to play b3 here. Yeah, and that chops his bishop and it's attacked. So I'd probably win his bishop. And the other line that I was thinking that, if he captured the bishop, I could capture with the pawn, which would be a discovered defense on a2. So now he can't capture the pawn. But now I've got 2 isolated pawns. So those pawns don't defend each other, and they're weak, and they might get captured later on in the game. So I didn't want any of that, so I just moved my queen to c2, and I avoided all those lines. Yeah, queen c2. He captured my bishop, so I captured back. He moved his knight to the center, which is a good square for the knight. I moved my queen to e4. The computer doesn't love this move. I did it because it attacks his bishop, it attacks his and it attacks his knight. But he's got two easy ways to defend both threats. He can defend with queen to e6 or bishop to e6, and both those moves defend everything. He didn't do that. He actually found another move that isn't great for him, but it doesn't instantly lose. He played f5. This defends his bishop, and it also attacks my queen. And the reason he played this is kind of the last sequence of the game. He'd been playing at a reasonable pace up to now. A common theme of all the games I played in this tournament is that I played much slower than my opponent. My opponents usually didn't use any of their time, and whether they were winning or losing, usually losing, they had about 80 minutes left on their clock, whereas I had about maybe 30 or 40. And this game was no exception. And I don't think he calculated this out properly. What he started doing here with this sequence, starting with f5, he instantly moved because I think he saw a combination. Well, I know he saw a combination, and there's a move at the end that I don't think he saw. And actually, unfortunately for him, I did analysis. I actually recorded this video already, and saw the move that I thought lost for me, which is the move that I think he saw and wanted me to play at the end. But that move also loses for him, so I don't know. He didn't calculate this out well at all. So I'll show you that when it comes up. But yeah, he played f5, defending his bishop and attacking my queen. So I took with the e-pawn en passant. So if you don't know that rule, you can just Google it. And he took my queen. I took his queen back. And here what he needs to do is just capture this pawn. And then he's defending this bishop here, which is hanging at the moment. But he just didn't do that. Again, he saw a combination where I think he thought he was going to checkmate me. And it actually doesn't work at all, as we'll see. But he played knight captures on c3. And this is just bad because now his bishop is attacked. It's hanging. And he in his head, he's attacking my rook here. What I can do is I can just trade off these rooks with check. So I capture his rook, he captures my rook. It's forced. And then I can capture his bishop. And now he's not attacking my rook. But he played knight to e2 here. So this is the position I think he thought he saw. I think in his head, and in my head as well, actually, that if I play king to h1, I get checkmated. And I didn't play that. I played king to f1. Now what's interesting is that I can actually play king to h1 if I want. It brings it back to a drawn position, and the computer hates it. But I thought I was getting checkmated after this, because I just thought the variation was okay. I have to move here, and then when I was doing the analysis before I recorded this video, I realized I can move my king here. I was like, oh, it's not checkmate. And then when I looked at the computer analysis, after rook to d1, the computer just wants me to sacrifice the bishop and do this. And so he captures with check, obviously. And then I moved king to g2. Oh, actually, well, yeah, what's funny actually is he doesn't even want to capture the bishop, but what he needs to do actually is capture this pawn first, because that pawn would become a queen otherwise. And now my bishop is still pinned, so I would probably play king to g2 here. And now if you look at the material on the board, yeah, material is actually equal, which is kind of crazy considering I sacrificed the bishop. But if you remember, I captured his bishop earlier on in the variation, so material after all this would be equal, which is kind of a crazy variation. But I didn't play king to h1 anyway, which we both thought at the time was a losing move for me. I played a move I'm almost certain he didn't see when he looked back 5 moves and tried to calculate this all out. I played king to f1 here, and I could see the most unhappy look on this poor guy's face. You just didn't see king to f1, because now you can still play king to d1 if you want, or rook to d1, but now I just capture his knight if he does that. So he attacked my rook, and I captured his pawn, and then he moved his knight out of danger. And again, I think here he thinks, he's going to play rook to d1, and it's maybe checkmate or something. But even if I let him do that, which I didn't, I've got knight to e1 blocking, so he's got nothing now. He's just losing. I played bishop h3. This is a check, and it also gives Luft to my king. Luft being the German word for heir, because everybody loves Germans. He moved his king, and I played f7, so I'm ready to make a queen. He blocked me making a queen. Um, and here, if you want to pause your video, what I'm going to try to do is see if I can edit out the left-hand side of the screen where it shows all the best moves. If you want to pause your video here for a second to see what the winning move here is for white, it's simple enough. And when I played this move, he resigned. So if you paused, great. If not, then rook to g8. And this is winning because the obvious moves, if you look at them, he can't capture the pawn because his rook is pinned. So if he tries to move the pawn, the computer won't let him. Um, and he can also try to capture my king, but that requires a lot of cheating. So the other move he can play, the second obvious move, captures my rook. Well, then I capture back and I have a queen. So he loses his rook and I gain a queen. And I'm going to checkmate him here. And the third move, which isn't really obvious at all, I suppose, because it's checkmate in one. If you want to keep defending your rook and you want to move it back, well, that's just checkmate. I don't even need to make a queen. Yeah, so that was my game. It technically ended in this position. Before he moved, he resigned, so I didn't get to checkmate him. He wasn't nice like my last opponent. My last opponent let me checkmate him. This guy wasn't a nice guy, and he lost not only because he blundered his bishop here and lost a piece and let me make this really powerful pawn, but also his knight's kind of silly over here on a6. He moved his bishop a lot of times. The dark square bishop here, he kind of moved it here, and then he moved it to b4, and he's just doing silly things. So he's being very inefficient with his moves, whereas I made a few mistakes. I by no means played perfectly, but I kind of more principled and played better, and I saw my chance to win. And and that's I suppose what's really a dig to a dig to him is that even the moves that thought would win for him didn't actually win at all. So yeah, he didn't have the best game. Neither did I actually, but sure. What are you gonna do? All right, thanks for watching. I'm gonna try to upload the rest of the videos, the rest of the rounds, uh, this week or next week, hopefully, and try to do them quicker because it's no point waiting 2 weeks for a bunch of proxy videos on the tournament you don't care about. So, all right, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.